that number one, as I mentioned before, is you don't want to trust the rental comps at face value from the brokers. You want to look at the actual properties first just to make sure that they actually are similar enough to the property you're looking at. So there are three things in particular that the brokers might do with the rental comps. And so these are things that you need to look for when you're analyzing an offer memorandum. Number one is the distance to the subject property. So this is why it's so important to understand the market on a neighborhood by neighborhood, street by street basis. Because if you sometimes you'll look at a offer memorandum, it'll have a map of where the properties are, and it'll have the subject property of the star, and then it'll have the rental comps scattered all over the place. And some of them may be multiple miles away, and in certain markets that could be fine. But in other markets where one street over it's a C neighborhood and the other street over is an A neighborhood, that could be an issue, because you need to have a property that's in a like market as well as a property that's similar to the subject property. And again, even if it is very close to the subject property, that could still be in a different type of market. So that's one. Look at the distance of the property and look at the market the property is located in to make sure that it is similar to the neighborhood that the subject property is in. Number two, and I kind of already touched on this, is looking at the renovation timeline. So if the current owners have already done renovations, you want to see how many renovations they did over what period of time. For example, if they did 20 renovations in the last 12 months, that's a lot different than them doing 5 renovations in the last 24 months, because the rental premiums that they're receiving are going to be different, or the rental premiums that you can assume you're going to achieve are going to be different in both of those scenarios. So go ahead, Jim.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you want the one where they are renovating the units in a shorter period of time closer to when you're buying the property, as opposed to less units over a longer period of time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that is likely a question that is not asked by 70% of apartment investors whenever they look at a deal. And I now hope that everyone listening who is buying a value-add apartment community asks that question if the broker or the owner is touting that they have achieved the rental premiums. Ask over what period of time and how many have you renovated, because we've looked at deals where everything looked great. The area, the rent premiums, the year of construction, except when we asked what period of time did they achieve these rent premiums, it was over 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. And that's an indicator for one, there's many things that could be, but what we looked into further is that a indication that the market doesn't have the demand that's required in order to renovate within a 24-month period the entire property, and instead they're cherry picking certain residents as they come in and putting them in, and then the majority of people cannot pay or choose not to pay that rent premium for the upgraded apartments, and that could just destroy a business plan, a value-add business plan, if you're not able to do it within a certain period of time. Now, certainly, if your projections say you're going to do the renovations over a 5-year period of time, then more power to you. You likely will be able to, but it's likely that your projections are going to show a shorter period of time. So make sure that you ask that question.